Hello everybody, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Happy Saturday. It is the first day of the regular season of football for my Cowboys. They play tonight. Been keeping an eye on another game, but it's not really going the way I wanted it to. So here I am to talk about Saint Sammy. You know what? Let's have some fun with this girl today. Since she's such a saint, let's give her a little halo. How's that? Yeah. All right. So I've kind of been trying to do a deep dive on all of the key players and their connections and things like that. And by far, Sammy has the most to talk about. She threw herself front and center in the middle of this thing from the get-go. So I figured she's a good one to start with. And, you know, I could probably put the other key players all in one video, but I feel like Saint Sammy is going to take up enough time that she deserves her very own. Because that's how much I think of Sammy. I'm going to give her her own video. And Autumn Fragrance, my commenter, I'm sure that you're gonna hate this video because you sent me some comments yesterday and I talked about so many people besides Sammy, and the only person you ever want to comment about is Sammy. So this is the video for you to just go crazy because this is dedicated to Saint Sammy. So I'm sure that you are going to just have a fit and let me have it in the comments on this one. So bring it on, Autumn Fragrance. I'm ready. All right. So I made notes, and the amount of notes that I accumulated on her is insane. Insane. I went back over all of my old notes from the case and kind of pulled things out from before, but we're just going to kind of try to break everything down here a little bit and really dive in and get to know Saint Sammy. So she said that she was Kylie's close friend, right? From the beginning. I don't know that she said best friend, but she said they were close. And she made it sound like they had been close for a while. That they were good friends. But when we started looking into her back towards the beginning, she didn't follow Kiely on her social media. There's no pictures of her and Kiely or anything like that. So it seemed a little suspicious. However, she is friends with the other key players, just not Kiely. So that's a red flag for me. So when the story started out, Saint Sammy, and remember, we had to rely on Sammy's version of events for most of the timeline of that night. If you go back and you look at the timeline, so much of it is filled in by statements from Sammy, which is weird. So she told us that Kiely brought Mags to the party and that Mags left about 10 minutes after getting there with her boyfriend Ross, who his name's not really, well, it's kind of, it's Stephen Ross Greenberger, I think, Berger, something. I'll get to that later. So Mags gets there and she leaves almost immediately with her boyfriend. And then that is when Sammy and Kiely apparently get together at this party and start hanging out. And they're together throughout the night. You know, she made a point in an interview to tell us that she was drinking all the same drinks that Kiely was drinking. And, you know, they had gone to the car to charge their phones and all of this stuff, remember? So she wanted us to know that she had drank out of everything that Kiely drank. And one of my initial thoughts in this case was, could Kiely have been slipped something in her drink, like roofied, basically? And when Sammy came out with that statement, it kind of made me feel like, well, I guess we're supposed to trust that she drank everything Kiely drank. So if Kiely had had something in her drink, it would have affected her as well, which goes into the chaos theory again. You know, oh, well, I was fine, so no, that couldn't have happened. But she does admit that they would break off from each other for, I think her quote was, mere moments. So how does she know what Kiely was doing or drinking in those moments? She doesn't, because she wasn't there. And she said they were doing shots and stuff like that. Well, I don't know a lot of people that share a shot because they're not that big to begin with. But I still think it's likely that somebody, I don't know who, but somebody maybe could have slipped something in Kiely's drink. And my reason for thinking that, it kind of goes back to Saint Sammy. So Sammy said at one point that this party was overwhelming and it was scary because, you know, all these older guys from all over the place. It was just supposed to be for like the local community people, but people were showing up from the Bay Area and all over the place. And remember, she's been underwhelmed at parties before. She's never been overwhelmed, but this party overwhelmed her because it blew up with all these people and she didn't know them. And there were these older sketchy guys and all that. But when Sammy's ride was going to leave, Sammy decided that she wanted to stay later at the scary party. So when her and Kiely were in Kiely's car charging their phones, she arranged to get a ride home with Kiely. Now, I think originally she said they were charging their phones at like 11 o'clock. And Kiely texted her mom, I believe around 11:30. And Sammy remembers Kiely texting her mom. So they're probably in the car or they're still together at 11:30 because she remembers her texting her mom about staying out a little bit later than her curfew. And she and Sammy were supposed to leave together. She was Sammy's ride home. Well, immediately after making arrangements to ride home with Kiely, she breaks off from her at the party to go find a ride home. What? You just got a ride home from Kiely, right? You just arranged that. Well, she didn't want to ride home with Kiely because she was too drunk to drive. So, here's my question. When you were in the car and she was texting her mom asking to extend her curfew, was she too drunk to drive at that point? And if so, why did you arrange to ride with her then? If not, then it sounds to me like Kiely went from being okay enough for Sammy to say that she wanted to get a ride with her to very quickly being too drunk to drive. And that's why I wonder if she was slipped something, because she went from, okay, I'm going to get a ride with you, to, oh, I'm not going to ride with her, she's too drunk. So that doesn't add up. Let's see. Oh, and she also said in an interview that Kiely had lied to her mom about going to the party to be a designated driver, and that her intention all along was to go there and get like completely trashed. So, you know, that's a little weird to me, because if you knew she was going there to be completely trashed. Why would you be counting on her for a ride, for one? But it doesn't add up. The whole party, how Kiely ended up at the party thing doesn't add up, because I need more pieces of information. Because if you remember, Kiely had already been planning to go to a car show called Hot August Nights in Reno with her family. This had been planned for a while, and the party had been planned for a while. Kiely was not planning to go to the party. She was planning to go with her family. Then the day of, something happened and changed Kylie's mind to get her to go to the party rather than go with her family. Because her mom had seen Kiely that morning, and I guess plans were still the same. And then at some point, Kiely was like, hey, I'm not going to go with you guys. I'm going to go to this party instead. So at some point in the day, plans changed. And I'm wondering did Sammy have Mags ask Kiely to give her a ride to the party so she could meet up with her boyfriend? Just some excuse to get Kiely there for some reason. We'll get into that a little bit more, but I really want to know who she talked to, who called her, texted her, whatever, who said what to get her to change her mind and decide to go to this party that she was not planning to attend. So back to the texting the mom. I don't honestly know if Kiely is the one that sent that text. I really don't. You know, I go back and forth on it, wondering if she is or if she isn't. But if she did, and Sammy knew that she had texted her mom telling her that she was going to be leaving in 15 minutes, then how come Sammy's telling everybody, oh, I thought she was going to stay at Prosser? If she told her mom she was leaving in 15 minutes, that doesn't sound like I'm staying at Prosser. But apparently she knew about her texting her mom. So there's another, her statements are so inconsistent. Just go from one interview to the next and it will be a different story every time. She can't keep her story straight. Okay, so she went to the party. She arranged to get a ride with somebody else. And then she said that before she left the party, she found Kiely. So in this mass of 200, 300, 400 people that was so scary, she made sure to look in this massive crowd of people and find Kiely and tell her bye, that she had another ride home and get home safe. Again, if you thought she was staying at Prosser, why did you tell her to get home safe? But anyway, apparently this was at 12:25, and she's so specific about her times. Very specific about her times. So that was at 12:25. Sammy's going to leave the party with whatever ride she arranged. She lets Kiely know that, tells her bye, and she's out of there. So then 11 minutes later at 12:36, and again, she's very specific about it. At 12:36, she heard from Kiely. Kiely called her to ask where she was and did she still need a ride home. So in that 11 minutes, Kiely forgot that she had a conversation with Sammy that she was leaving and had another ride. And Sammy told her, no, I'm driving, I'm being driven, I'm in the passenger seat. Remember that conversation? And I'm already on 89 and yada yada. And again, the, be safe, whatever, garbage. But Sammy, as much detail as Sammy likes to give about everything, very specific times and, very specifics about conversations and things like that. She never said who she got a ride home with. She has never come out and said who she got a ride home with. And nobody has come forward to say, hey, I gave Sammy a ride. And she's such a saint. And, you know, I'm sure she's so beloved by everybody that to protect her reputation and prove her right, somebody would come forward and say, I'm the one that took her home, right? But nobody has. There's a rumor out there that she left with somebody named Mr. Anderson. I don't know who Mr. Anderson is yet. But Sammy herself has never said, I got a ride with so-and-so. Now remember, she said Mags was there and she left with her boyfriend Ross. You know, she's very specific about this person was with this person and blah, blah, blah. But her, she didn't say, I left at 12:25 with John Smith or whoever. No, she just left. She got a ride with somebody else. But we don't know who. She doesn't tell us who, and nobody's come forward to say they gave her a ride. So, did she get a ride home? I don't know. Oh, and she's adamant about making sure that we understand that she is the last person that saw Kiely. And the way she phrases the next part, she says that she's the last person to contact Kiely. Now, if you remember, if we believe the 12:36 phone call, Kiely called her. Now, when I'm talking to somebody, if I'm gonna call my husband, I'll say I'll contact my husband. If my husband calls me, I don't say I contacted my husband. I could say he contacted me. But she said she was the last person to contact Kiely. Not she's the last person Kiely contacted. And I know it's just semantics, it's just words, but it's just another one of those flags, right? So she says she's the last person that saw her, but when she was on that 12:36 phone call, she could hear a lot of people in the background and it was loud, like she was still at the party. So none of those people apparently saw Kiely. I don't know. Maybe she had like magic powers and she went invisible, but nobody saw her after Sammy. She was the last one to see her. And we all need to know that. Immediately, she jumped to the conclusion someone else is involved. This was an abduction. And you all know that that bothers the crap out of me. So, allegedly, when you saw her, she was too drunk to drive you home. She was in no condition to drive. You said in an interview that she couldn't have made it far if she tried to drive. So, instead of thinking, damn, I bet she tried to drive and she had an accident, no. Saint Sammy immediately knows someone else was involved. This is absolutely an abduction. Who makes that leap? Not anybody I know. But that's the narrative that Sammy starts driving. And that's also the narrative that, oddly enough, law enforcement picks up on. They also know there was drinking and there were drugs at this party. But right out the gate, law enforcement says it's an abduction. She's gone. Her car's gone. It's an abduction. Why not rule out the car accident theory before you say it's an abduction? Why not go out and see if you can find evidence of a car accident before you jump to abduction? That whole thing was very weird to me. And then they didn't issue the Amber Alert, and we know supposedly she didn't meet all the qualifications. She met 3 out of the 4, so they couldn't issue one or whatever, but they were still handling it as an abduction. Okay, so the search starts, right? Saint Sammy is in the middle. She is running the show, right? She wants all the tips filtered through her. She wants all the teens to come to her. She is telling everybody, I am in charge. I am going to take it upon myself, and I am in charge of contacting everyone who was at that party, all 200 to 400 people that some of them were scary, sketchy people that I didn't even know, and I don't know where they came from, but I'm going to contact all of them. Me, Saint Sammy, I'm going to do it. And you need to come to me and tell me what you know, and then I will let law enforcement know for you. Just come to Saint Sammy, right? So as my commenter likes to point out, Sammy would have you think she was out there searching 24/7. Commenter says Sammy was out there searching 24/7. No. Sammy was like on a media tour. Sammy was doing interviews on TV. Sammy was talking to any type of media outlet that would have her. She was making the rounds on media. And then let's look at here. Saint Sammy in charge. This was the presser where she took it upon herself to jump up there at the mic and start speaking before even law enforcement or anybody else. No, it's got to be Saint Sammy first. It has to be her. She needs to be heard. She needs to get her message and her narrative out there. And by God, we're all going to listen, whether we want to or not. So this is Saint Sammy, and this is how she's dressed. Does this look like a person that's dressed to go out searching for a missing person in this wooded, mountainous terrain? This uneven terrain. She's wearing like Jesus sandals and no socks, these cut off shorts. I mean, she is not dressed for a search, y'all. She's not. Unless she's going to be like walking around searching in a store or a parking lot or something like that. She is not. She is not dressed for the search. But she would have you think that she was out there just busting her butt every day trying to find Kiely, and she was going to keep doing it until they found Kiely, even if it meant deferring a semester of college. She was that dedicated to finding her good friend Kiely. So let's get back to the alleged search for Kiely. So she's out here, she's searching, she's having meetings, she's doing everything she can, she's filtering tips, she's doing whatever, right? And she's so dedicated. She isn't giving up. She's not going to give up. Like I said, she will defer a semester of college if she has to, if Kiely has not been found. She's going to stay there and not go to school and keep searching because Kiely's her good friend. And then Adventures with Purpose say, hey, we're going to come. She's been missing for 2 weeks and y'all haven't found her. So we're going to stop what we're doing and drive all the way across the country and come help you look. We're going to come clear the water and see if we can help you. That was exciting news for a lot of us because we didn't want them to find her in the water, but that would have excluded a large amount of the search area, right? You know, all these resources that were being poured in and all of the teens' efforts, especially St. Sammy's, could have been focused somewhere else and we wouldn't have to worry about the possibility of the water anymore, right? So Adventures with Purpose coming was a big deal as far as the search goes. So you would think someone that dedicated would want to be right there as they searched for Kiely. sitting there, probably on the shore even, you know, singing Kumbaya and praying that they don't find her friend, right? No, Sammy takes off. She leaves. Doesn't just leave like the search area. No, she left the entire freaking state. Gone. And then when Adventures with Purpose unfortunately finds Kiely's car, she immediately hops on social media to say it's not true. What? For starters, you're not even there. So you don't know what they found or what they didn't find. But then she continues to stay gone. Well, now we know she's back and she got herself a criminal defense attorney and she's been out partying at one of the lakes at night with a headlamp on, drinking Coors and singing and dancing. So, this friend that she was so dedicated to find was found. And if it was an accident, it was a tragic accident, but it looks like it could be something besides an accident. And she's happy and carefree. I don't know what that says about her. I would hope if something happened to me, my friends wouldn't be out doing that. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want everybody sitting at home crying and everything, but Sammy's behavior is a little much for me. So yesterday was the celebration of Kiely's life, or the let's pat ourselves on the back as a community and rally behind these amazing teens event. And when it's Sammy's turn to speak about Kiely, she tells us about the time that Kiely gave her a free boba tea. Kiely was at work. She wasn't technically allowed to give away a free boba tea, but she gave one to Sammy, and that is her best memory of her close friend. All right, moving on. So, like I said, Sammy didn't follow Kiely on her socials, but she does follow all of the other key players. Mags, Jagger, Kate. There's like a bazillion Nates thrown in the mix now. Sammy is friends with literally, it seems like, anybody that is even on the very outskirts of this case. Somehow Sammy's connected to them. She's literally connected to everyone, it seems like. So she was friends with, if you go back in one of my other videos where they had the picture of the bar setup that they do out at Prosser when they have their parties, there was the Venmo on there that you could pay for your drinks by Venmoing money to this guy, Sammy Bono, who, of course, Sammy is friends with. So there was that. He took payments and she made payments for, drinks and bears, which I don't know if that's code for beers or edibles or whatever, but she's paying Sammy Bono for whatever. And she's also, in the last week, been playing a lot of poker, it seems like, and using Venmo for that. She told us that when that surveillance photo came out of Kiely from like 6:08 that night before the party, and we saw her with the black bodysuit and the green Dickies pants and all of that, Sammy confirmed, yep, that's what she was wearing at the party. And she knew because they had been peeing in the woods together. They would go out and they would pop a squat, and she could tell us details about her black belt that she was wearing. I mean, she knew everything. I'm surprised she didn't tell us what color underwear Kiely had on, because she knew it all, right? Not once did she mention the Lana Del Rey hoodie or the Odd Future hoodie. And then the police come along and they're convinced that she had the Lana Del Rey hoodie in her possession. And at first they thought she could have been wearing it, but then they come out the next day and they're like, no, we have proof she was wearing this Odd Future hoodie at the party. Sammy didn't notice that? She's so detail oriented about everything. How could she forget that Kiely was wearing a white hoodie with big pink letters? But she didn't mention that to us. She knew the details about Kiely's phone. She knew the color of her phone. She knew the stickers on the phone case. Like I said, she knew details about the belt Kiely was wearing. All kinds of weird things. But then when it came to the car, she told us it had the bull sticker, but it was actually a ram. She said it had a sunroof. No one else has ever said that car had a sunroof. The mom and law enforcement all said that it had bars on the top, like a rack, but nobody ever said sunroof except Saint Sammy, and she never mentioned the bars on the top. But they were really good friends, and she had been spending time in this car that evening, but she really didn't seem to know much about it. There's no pictures of Saint Sammy and Kiely anywhere. And we know how much she likes to be on social media, because, you know, she's putting up these Snapchats of her partying out at the lake at dark with the headlamp and the Coors, right? And you look at her Instagram, the girl loves to take pictures of herself, and she loves to make TikToks. She's all about it. There isn't a picture of Sammy from this party? Are you kidding me? The one picture that Sammy produced from the party was the one where everybody was like looking away, like something was going on, like in the tree area or whatever, where they weren't even looking at the camera. You can't tell me that Sammy was at this party and she didn't take one selfie. This is like senior send-off. She's supposed to be getting ready to go to college, and you mean to tell me she wasn't taking pictures with people before she left to go to UC Irvine or whatever? Hell no. There's pictures. She either deleted them or she's just not giving them up. All right. So in an interview last night, SF Investigates from Twitter was on with the Glarer, and he said that when AWP came up and they were talking to the dad and the grandpa, SF Investigates was with them. He's the one in the video that they blurred out. So he said that Doug from Adventures with Purpose asked him, if someone did something to Kiely, who would you suspect? And he said, Sammy and Jagger. He said on Twitter that Sammy and Kiely were not close. That Mags and Kiely were close. Sammy and Kiely were not. He said there was friction between Sammy and Kiely over a guy, not Jagger. I'm going to guess one of the three Nates or whatever are in this now. He said that when Sammy said that Kiely was rocking that single life, she wasn't being genuine. He said he believes the truth about Sammy will come out. Then he started taking down tweets about Kiely's case. So you can't go back and look at these now. But I had them from before. You can go back and look in my videos. I put them in my videos. So something's up with that. But I believe when everything that he said then that he's taken down now, I believe it. And the friction about a guy, that takes me back to something that Doug got told while he was out in the boat looking for Kiely, which we will get to. So Sammy's parents are attorneys, and one's a PI. I don't know if he's an attorney and a PI, was an attorney and is now a PI or whatever. But again, power, connections, right? So she may have gotten a ride with someone with the last name of Anderson. Everybody's saying Mr. Anderson. So some guy. I don't know if they mean like a young guy, older guy. I just know Anderson. So if you look at some of her friends, I don't know who posted this, but she does have a friend named Emmeline Anderson. So I don't know if Mr. Anderson is connected to this Emmeline Anderson or what. But if you look at the bottom, she's friends with Evan Fittyman. Now, in my chaos theory video, we talked about the Fittymans. Remember? Tammy and Justin Fittyman are Evan's parents. Tammy is a police officer in the Truckee Police Department. The Fittyman family made huge contributions to that sketchy Sheriff Wu of Placer County Sheriff's Office, the one whose son was also at the party, the one who allegedly acted inappropriately with an underage ride-along girl. Yeah. And the Fittymans are connected to Kate. So do you see what I mean about St. Sammy being connected to everybody? So the three Nates, let me try to break this down. Let's get St. Sammy back up here. Take her friends down. Actually, let's put this one up here. You know how I said she didn't look like she was dressed to go on a search? Look at this. This is Sammy and Mags. Mags is wearing like some sort of skirt or something. Neither one of them look like they're ready to go searching for Kiely, do they? No. Okay, so Nate number one is Nate, and I still don't know how to say his last name, but so be it. Nate Kabakungan, 20 years old, supplied fentanyl to a 15-year-old girl who fatally overdosed in June. He was charged with homicide along with allegations of furnishing a controlled substance to a minor and meeting with a minor for the purposes of engaging in lewd behavior. Now, if you remember, this arrest came right in the middle of the search for Kiely. It was the day that we were waiting for the presser, and it was like 2 hours late. And they had come on social media and said, like, we're taking a break from our regularly scheduled Kiely postings to post about this, and it was about the arrest of this guy. And then when the presser was late, we were all wondering, is this tied to Kiely being missing somehow? And then they didn't mention that arrest or whatever. But this is one of the Nates that people were like, oh, is that the Nate that Sammy was dating, or the Nate that Kiely was involved with, or whatever? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, could this Nate guy possibly have been supplying drugs to the kids at the party? Sure. Possibly. I mean, he wasn't in jail at the time, and apparently he provided it to a 15-year-old girl, so I don't see why not. I mean, that Nate could definitely be involved in that way. Then we have Nate Tetzloff. He's a friend of Jagger and Kiely. Sammy follows him, but he doesn't follow her back. So initially I was like, was Sammy jealous because Kiely's getting attention from this Nate guy and she's not, and she don't like that? You know, Saint Sammy probably wants all the attention. So I kind of wondered if that's maybe where the friction was coming from. Well, then SF Investigates comes out and says, oh, no, it's Nate Hambrecht. That's who's connected to Kiely. I don't know much about this Nate other than he's followed by Kate and Jagger and the Long Live Kiely account, which was one of Jagger's old accounts. that he converted to Long Live Kiely. So that Nate is also connected to Jagger and Kate. So I don't know which Nate. There's too many Nates for me to keep up with in this case, but there was friction between the girls and it wasn't about Jagger, so everyone seems to think it's this Nate guy. Let's see. Okay, so back to Sammy and Mags. Like I said, I'm wondering if, there's a lot of people out there that, are on the side of this is like a Mean Girls type situation. And maybe Kiely was kind of lured to the party under false pretenses. So did Saint Sammy ask Mags to get Kiely to bring her to the party? Maybe Mags knew like something was up and she didn't want to be a part of it, and that's why her and her boyfriend left. Because when you look at her boyfriend, so Sammy said that his name was Ross. His name is Stephen Ross Greenberger. Berger. Something. And he's from Truckee. So, and at first I thought, well, maybe she wasn't allowed to see him or something like that. But no, when we cover Mags in another video, I'll show you. I have pictures of them together, like going to prom or something. So apparently, they were known as a couple and nobody really had a problem with it. But why would Mags need Kiely to drive her from Truckee out to the Prosser campground to meet her boyfriend from Truckee? Why couldn't she have just gone with her boyfriend in Truckee? Or why couldn't they have just met in Truckee and not gone to the party altogether if they weren't planning to stay? That whole thing about her coming with Kiely and not planning on staying with Kiely and then leaving so fast just has never really made sense to me. That, she went out there and she met up with her boyfriend. Well, I thought maybe her boyfriend was from somewhere else and that was kind of like a good place to meet up and then go from there. No, he's from Truckee, where they're from. So something about that doesn't really add up for me. People have even said that maybe Ross was the one that supplied drugs or alcohol or something at the party. It looks like he graduated not too long ago, so I don't even think he's probably old enough to buy alcohol, but we all know that doesn't mean anything. I don't know the story with the boyfriend, but I do know that it's just weird that Kiely would change her plans to take Mags to a party knowing that Mags was going to leave in 10 minutes. But if she was like, yeah, sure, I'll take you out there to meet Ross, and she knew that Mags was going to meet up with Ross and leave, what the hell convinced Kiely to stay? Because allegedly Jagger wasn't there and Kate wasn't there. And Sammy says they're close friends, but there is no evidence of that whatsoever. I don't see Sammy coming up to Kiely and being like, oh, hey, you should stay, you should hang out. And Kiely saying, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And, Mags got so scared because these guys came up and were aggressively trying to get her to take bong rips without her boyfriend being present. Don't you think Kiely would have been scared too? Or if that's the reason that Mags left, and they're good friends, how come she didn't say, Kiely, you should not stick around here. You need to go too. Why would you leave your friend in a situation that you're too scared to stay in? That doesn't make sense. Let's see. So Sammy said that Mags and Kiely had spent the day together. They came to the party together. They weren't planning to stay at the party together. Like I said, that makes no sense, but it's coming from Sammy, so take it for what it's worth. Sammy said Kiely was supposed to meet Mags to go camping the next day. So again, Kiely and Mags are hanging out all day, but they're going to meet up the next day to go camping. And then Mags is like, take me to this party, but they weren't planning to stay together at the party. But then the next day they were supposed to get back together and go camping. I mean, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Um, so in the Adventures with Purpose video, Doug got information while he was out on the boat that there was disturbing behavior and a fight between Kiely and another girl named, and remember they blurred and put black bars over his mouth so we couldn't see the name of the girl, minutes before the party broke up at 12:30. Remember, 12:30 was the mass exodus. Apparently St. Sammy got out of there 5 minutes before. Whew, lucky her. Cars started flying out of the campground. Something bad happened. The kids' parents told them not to get involved. So, who had the fight with Kiely? I think I know who it is. And you can probably guess who I think it is. Someone that told us about friendly fights. Did she have a friendly fight that night? Now, I'm going to show you these pictures that people have been putting out there, and I'm kind of on the fence, like maybe yes, maybe no. But they've pointed out, if you look, she's got injuries like on her. She's got scrapes and bruises. See? And she's trying to cover them up with whatever. Some people have said that she had bruises on her arms too. I didn't put that in here because I can't really decide if I think it's a bruise or a shadow on her arm. But look at her fingers. She has like chewed her nails until they bled, or something happened to them and they bled. So if she chewed her nails that bad, that's like a nervous habit, right? When you chew your nails, it's a nervous habit. But what would Saint Sammy have to be that nervous about? I mean, she did nothing wrong. She has nothing to worry about. Even if she did do something wrong, she probably doesn't have anything to worry about, unfortunately, because she has all those connections. But did she have a fight with Kiely, one of their friendly fights or whatever? Is that where the injuries came from? And then of course people speculate, like, we heard Sammy had to change her clothes at the party because she was wet, which would imply she was in the water. Did she bruise herself trying to get out of the car? That's one of the theories that's out there. I'm not going to say if I believe it or not, but it's out there. And it's just another thing to think about. Or, I mean, maybe she's clumsy. Maybe she's just accident prone and has a lot of bruises on her legs. I don't know. Anything's possible. So, if Sammy is involved somehow, even to the point of just the fact that she was drinking with Kiely, allegedly knew Kiely was too drunk to drive, and she left her there. Whatever. She's covered herself really well if she is involved. Especially if something nefarious happened, because she has given us a story, a narrative that covers her if they find her DNA in that car. Or if they find her DNA on Kiely. Oh, we were together at the party all night. Maybe she gave her a hug. Maybe she did whatever, right? So, obviously, my DNA is going to be there. Oh, yeah, we were sitting in her car charging our phones. So, obviously, my fingerprints are going to be in the car. Or my hair might have fallen out in the car. Whatever. She's covered. If her fingerprints are on anything in that car, like the Truly can or anything, she can be like, oh yeah, we were drinking the same drinks. She's covered. for fingerprints and DNA, she's covered. Now, if by some chance Kiely has DNA under her fingernails that would come back to Saint Sammy, I don't know how she could really explain that. But attorney parents and a private investigator, ties to law enforcement, they're probably very proud of Saint Sammy because she really did herself a favor by putting that story out there, didn't she? I bet her criminal defense attorney is like, "Ooh, we got reasonable doubt for days." So Sammy's friend Elsa, yes, Sammy's friend Elsa, of course she's Sammy's friend. She's the one that finally came along and said, "Oh yeah, I saw Kiely at the party at like midnight and she was trashed." Kind of backing up Saint Sammy's story, of course, because she's Sammy's friend. Then, that was really it. It was just like a new blip on the timeline, right? Yeah, she was seen by Elsa Pekarek or whatever her last name is. Then Elsa comes back and adds more to the story. Apparently, when Elsa and her ride were walking to their car, they saw Kiely and she was so drunk she fell in a hole. And they're like, "Hey, are you all right?" And Kiely said, "Yeah, I'm good." And they said, "Do you need a ride?" And Kylie's like, "No, I got a ride." So they left. So again, now that we've got Elsa saying Kiely fell in a hole, if Kiely has any injuries on her, probably going to be because she fell in that hole, right? That would give you some bruises, maybe some scratches if there were like sticks or things laying around. So got that covered now, thank God. But what I really don't get is they keep saying she was so drunk she couldn't walk. She was so drunk she couldn't talk. But she wasn't so drunk that she couldn't text her mom. Like, she texted her mom and it was perfect. There were no grammatical errors or anything odd about the text. It was perfectly perfect. But she couldn't walk or talk. But she was able to text just fine. How does that work? That's why I wonder if she's the one that sent the text. And if she did send the text, then she got that messed up that fast after sending the text. If that's the case, then I think she had to be slipped something. It's the only way you're going to get that messed up that fast. Let's see. Looks like that's about it that I have for St. Sammy today. So just, I guess, let me know what you think. I'm just kind of, like I said, I threw everything together that I had in my notes that I've seen flying around social media. Just wanted to try to combine it all here in one place so we can kind of come back and look at it and say, "Oh yeah, Saint Sammy said this, but she did that," kind of thing. So that's it. That's all I have about my favorite character in this whole thing, Saint Sammy. Do you think she was a good friend? Do you think she was just doing everything that she did out of the goodness of her heart because she cared so much about Kiely? Or do you think that she really liked all the attention it brought to her? Do you think she liked being the center of attention? Do you think a lot of her stories and narratives are to cover her ass? Do you think she's been coached by her parents or her friends' parents that are in law enforcement? Do you think that she's staying off the media tours now on advice of counsel because she tends to say too much and she tends to say things that can't be proven? Like, she called me at 12:36, but her phone went dead at 12:33. I don't know. Let me know where you're at on St. Sammy. Let me know what you think. And if this was just an accident, do you think she even feels bad for leaving her there? I doubt it. She didn't look like she was very remorseful in her video where she was out drinking and dancing and singing and partying, but that's just my opinion. So thank y'all for stopping by and spending a little time with me to rant about St. Sammy. I hope y'all have a great rest of your evening. I'm going to go watch my Cowboys play tonight. And as always, I will see you all in the next one.